Within Temptation.
Within Temptation is a Dutch symphonic metal rock band founded in 1996 by vocalist Sharon and Adel and guitarist Robert Westerholt. Their music is described as symphonic metal, although their earlier material, such as Enter, was gothic metal. In an interview, and Adel said they fell into a symphonic rock genre with various influences. In a later interview with 3VOOR12, and Adel stated that we consider ourselves more a symphonic rock band. We are in my opinion no gothic band. After the release of their first album Enter, the band became prominent in the Dutch underground scene. It was not until 2001 that they became known to the general public, with the single Ice Queen from the album Mother Earth, which reached number 2 on the Dutch charts. Since then, the band won the Canamus Export Bridge 4 years in a row. Their next albums The Silent Force and The Heart of Everything debuted at number 1 on the Dutch charts. In 2008, they released a live DVD and CD, Black Symphony, recorded with the Metropole Orchestra. This collection was followed in 2009 with an acoustic night at the theatre. The band's fifth studio album The Unforgiving, was released in March 2011, alongside both a comic book series and a series of short films that together encompass a story. The first single, Faster, was released on January 21, and the first short film, Mother Maiden, was released on January 31. The band has sold more than 3 million copies worldwide. On November 13, 2012, they celebrated their 15th birthday with a huge live event, called Elements, at the Sportpaleis, Antwerpen. Their sixth studio album, Hydra, was released on January 22, 2014 in Japan, January 31, 2014 in Europe, and February 4, 2014 in the United States. The album features guest appearances from Tarja Turunen, who appears in the lead single Paradise, What About Us? Howard Jones of Killswitch Engage, Dave Pner of Soul Asylum and American rapper XZIBIT.
History. Formation.
Long-term partners Robert Westerholt, guitar, and Sharon Adel, vocals, began the band in 1996, after Westerholt left his previous band, The Circle. The Circle renamed themselves Voyage and released an album called Embrace, including a song featuring Adel. Soon after that release the band broke up. Westerholt then joined with Adel in forming a doom metal band called The Portal, including former The Circle band members Jeroen van Veen on bass guitar and Michiel Papenhove on guitar, as well as Martijn Westerholt on the keyboard and Dennis Lieflang on drums, later replaced by Yvonne de Graaf. However, they renamed themselves Within Temptation, before they started recording their demo, Enter. The Enter demo contained some songs that would later be released in their first album. They were offered a recording contract and signed to DSFA Records later that year, beginning work on their first album.
Enter 1997 to 1999.
Enter, the debut album, was released in 1997. The album was well received and the band embarked on a 4-gig tour across the country, after which they performed at the Dynamo Open Air Festival in Eindhoven. The band rounded out 1997 by embarking on their first international tour, of Germany and Austria. Also subsequently Yvonne de Graaf left the band and was replaced by Ciro Palmer. The sound of Enter, whilst melodic, was doomily paced, and influenced by gothic doom metal, heavily reliant on slow keyboards and drums and repetitive guitar riffs. Also prominent on this album are death grunts by Robert Westerholt and George Usthik, ex-member of Orphanage. In 1998 the band continued to tour. Their profile had elevated them to the main stage at Dynamo for the 1998 event. However, Within Temptation had released no new material, and did not have plans for a second album at this point, to which end they elected to release an EP, The Dance, with 3 songs, plus 2 remixes, that would further mature the sound from Enter. Finally taking a break from touring, 1999 was largely a sabbatical year for the band. They took the opportunity to construct their own studio, as well as returning to personal pursuits, with plans to return to the fold the next year.
Mother Earth 2000 to 2004.
2000 was an eventful year for the band as they returned to touring, playing 3 Dutch festivals: Waterpop, Bospop and Lowlands. In addition, they went to work on their second album, releasing Mother Earth in the Low Countries on December 1. The album was a moderate success in the Dutch charts the first few weeks after its release. The band released the single Our Farewell, which never entered the charts. The second single from Mother Earth, Ice Queen, was regarded as the breakthrough release for the band. In March 2002 it climbed to number 2 in the Netherlands but was their first number 1 single when it climbed to the top in Belgium. The success rebounded to Mother Earth, which continued to climb in the Dutch album chart, ending the year at number 3. 2001 saw a number of changes in personnel. Ruud Jolie was added as a second guitarist, drummer Yvonne de Graaf was replaced by Steven van Herscht, and Robert Westerholt, suffering from infectious mononucleosis, was replaced by Martijn Spierenberg. Westerholt later started the band Elaine. In 2002 they had their first concert in France and a headline gig in Mexico City. They attained their first major award, the Dutch Silver Harp. They bolstered this by embarking on a major international tour supporting Paradise Lost in 2003 and re-releasing Mother Earth on the GUN Records label across more European countries. It was a success in Germany, where it went platinum and reached number 7 in the charts. The re-release of Ice Queen also charted well in the top 30. In turn, the Benelux regions got a different release, a cover of Kate Bush's Running Up That Hill. The band headlined music festivals across the Netherlands, while their Mother Earth tour DVD claimed the prestigious Edison Award. Promotion of Mother Earth in newer markets continued well into 2004 with various festival appearances and other gigs, which also saw the band make their UK live debut in London in September of that year.
The Silent Force 2004 to 2006.
Plans for the band's third album came to fruition in 2004, with the release of The Silent Force on November 15, 2004, across Europe. It was produced by Daniel Gibson and an instant number 1 in the Netherlands and charted well in many European countries. In support of the release they embarked on another large international tour in 2005, with dates across Europe, including their first festival appearance in the United Kingdom headlining the Bloodstock Festival, and a one-off show in Dubai. As of early 2005, the album had already sold more than 400,000 copies only in Europe. Stand My Ground, and Memories, the first singles from the new album, continued the band's run of chart success, culminating in a second Edison Award. The third single was Angels. Stand My Ground was later to be promoted on the trailer for the film Blood and Chocolate. The band also provided some of the soundtrack to the video game Knights of the Temple, Infernal Crusade released in March. In January 2006, Within Temptation won the Dutch Pop Prize, Best Dutch Pop Contribution, and Dutch Export Prize, Best Selling Dutch Artist Outside the Netherlands. The latter one given to them for the third time in a row. The band also reported that they were busy working on their next album, due to be released during the fall, and that they would start playing at festivals starting in April, in addition to going on an international tour at the end of the year. On August 5, 2008, the band's albums Mother Earth and The Silent Force were released in the US for the first time through Roadrunner Records.
The Heart of Everything 2007 to 2010.
The album The Heart of Everything from Within Temptation was released on March 9, 2007, in the Netherlands, and in the United States on July 24. 2 tracks, called The Howling, and Sounds of Freedom, were recorded as promotion material for the video game The Chronicles of Spellborn, and the first of these opens the album. The full track listing was revealed on January 10. The band embarked on their first North American tour with Lacuna Coil in May to promote the North American release of the album. Roadrunner Records also released a limited edition EP called The Howling, which was available only at Hot Topic stores, containing the title track plus popular tracks from their former album The Silent Force. The album debuted at number 1 in the Dutch Album 100, making it their second #1 album. It reached #2 in Belgium, #2 in Finland, the top 10 in 8 countries and top 100 in 11 countries. The song, What Have You Done, was the first single released from the album. Its initial music video was recorded on the 12th, 13th and 14th of December 2006 at the Coco Club in London, and a CGI studio in Windsor. It features Keith Capito of Life of Agony on guest vocals. Fans were allowed to participate in the making of the video, although this first version left the band feeling disappointed, comments made by the band at their March show in Lyon. Shortly after, a completely new video for the song was made. The second single, released across Europe in June, was Frozen. The video, filmed in Romania, deals with child abuse, and sales of the single was to raise money for a children's charity, Child Helpline International. The Howling was chosen as a digital single release for the UK, not to be confused with the US EP release, and another video was also shot. The extended version of the Frozen single features an unreleased B-side, Sounds of Freedom, as mentioned, the second song written for the promotion of the computer game The Chronicles of Spellborn. Within Temptation started their very first US tour a few months after the European release of The Heart of Everything, supporting Lacuna Coil, and appearing alongside In This Moment, Stolen Babies, The Gathering, and Colaser. The tour, dubbed the Hottest Chicks in Metal Tour 2007, was largely a success. The Heart of Everything was released in the US on July 24, and the promotional single of What Have You Done shipped to rock stations July 2. This was the band's first album to be released in America, followed by the previous albums Mother Earth and The Silent Force a year later. In support of the new album, Within Temptation decided to kick off their first headlining US tour in fall 2007. The band played 13 shows, starting on September 5, 2007, in Boston and ended on September 23, 2007, in Tempe, Arizona. On October 19, 2007, Within Temptation released the video for their third single All I Need. The single was released in Europe around November 12 and features the single and album versions of the title track plus demo versions of The Last Time, previously unreleased track, Frozen, and Our Solemn Hour. In November 2007, the band released info that their concert at Beustebouw, in Eindhoven, was filmed for possible inclusion on a new concert DVD, either parts or all of the show. On February 7, 2008, the band performed a 10,000 audience show entitled Black Symphony at the Ahoy in Netherlands together with the Metropole Orchestra, a choir and several guest artists, and it was later revealed that this show would be filmed in its entirety for DVD and Blu-ray together with a double CD, which was to be released on September 22, 2008, international, and September 23, 2008, in the US. The trailer for the DVD, containing the entire live performance of the song Our Solemn Hour from the show, was released on the band's Opendisc feature on July 16, 2008. Another single from The Heart of Everything, Forgiven, was released to promote the Black Symphony release. Later, Black Symphony was certified gold in the Netherlands. On November 3, 2008, Ruud Jolie stated on his blog that the members of Within Temptation were going to take a year off, stating that after the theatre tour, that will start next week, me and the rest of Within Temptation are gonna take a whole year off. For the last 7 years we've been hopping from studio to tour bus to airplane to boat to studio again to tour bus to bicycle to airplane to an occasional swimming pool on the top of a hotel to tour bus again. We all really needed a break from the band. From that tour, on August 11, 2009, on their official website, Sharon announced that an acoustic album would be released in late October early November called An Acoustic Night at the Theatre. It would include several acoustic songs from their tour in November 2008. On the 30th of October the album was released. The single was released with the album called Utopia. The song is a duet between Sharon and Chris Jones and was released on October 23. Their song, What Have You Done, is now on the video game Guitar Hero World Tour, and was present on a TV promo of a Grey's Anatomy episode. The Truth Beneath the Rose was featured in the commercials for The Tudors, Season 3, on Showtime. The song All I Need was featured in the American television show, Vampire Diaries.
The Unforgiving 2011 to 2012.
In November 2008, the band announced that they would begin working on their new studio album in 2009, and that the Heart of Everything tour was drawing to an end. On June 1, 2009, it was announced that Sharon had given birth to a boy, her second child with Robert Westerholt. In 2010, the band embarked on a second theatre tour, their last with drummer Steven Van Haest. In the meantime, the band continued work on their new studio album. In an interview with Metal Ways at Apple Pop 2008, guitarist Robert Westerholt stated that the new album was probably going to be kind of a concept, but it's so early still that nothing is really sure yet. But we're trying to look in that direction. On November 18, 2010, the band announced via their website that their new album, entitled The Unforgiving, would be released in March 2011. The concept of the album would be based on a comic book series, written by Stephen O'Connell, Blood Rain and Dark 48, and illustrated by Romano Molinaro, Witchblade, Darkness and X-Men. Each song on The Unforgiving was written along Stephen's narrative, with characters in the songs reflecting the protagonists of the comic. On July 26, 2010, the band announced that they would be embarking on a European tour at the beginning of 2011 in support of their new release. However, on November 26, 2010, it was announced that due to Sharon's third pregnancy, the tour dates would be moved from early 2011 to fall 2011. On the official website, Adel shared that they have recorded 3 music videos for the album within the course of a week. Where Is the Edge, a promotional video, was released on December 15, 2010, featuring scenes from the Dutch movie Me and Mr. Jones. The first new single, Faster, was released January 21 and the video for the song was released January 31, 2011. The track is currently being played in heavy rotation, at least once in each show, on UK classic rock station Planet Rock. The first track-by-track review of the album was published next month by a freelance journalist online, via Last.fm. On February 22, 2011, the band announced that Mike Coughlan had joined as full-time drummer. However, the studio album had been recorded with Swedish drummer Nicke Hellenberg. On March 14, 2011, Sony BMG organized an online listening session of the upcoming album on a Polish website that only people from Poland could access. However, every song was soon after leaked onto the internet. Within Temptation tried to prevent the leak before the release date. Limited promotion CDs were sent strictly to journalists who had to come to a listening session. Later that month, the second short film entitled Need was released without an accompanying music video. However, it is available on the special edition CD-DVD set of The Unforgiving along with the remaining short film triplets, and music video for Shot in the Dark. During the album promotional phases, the birth of Logan was reported on the Within Temptation website. The album debuted at number 2 in the Netherlands, while the 2 previous albums, The Heart of Everything and The Silent Force, debuted at number 1. The Unforgiving also debuted in the top 10 of Belgium, Portugal, Finland, Germany, Sweden, Switzerland and Austria. When the single Faster was released, it did not chart as well as other Within Temptation singles like Stand My Ground and Ice Queen, though in the digital music store iTunes the song placed on the common charts, entering the top 5 in the Netherlands, number 4, while the single reached number 11 so far. On the digital rock charts, Faster became a hit, reaching the number 1 in the Netherlands, Belgium, Finland, Spain, number 2 on Sweden, number 5 in Germany, number 6 in Austria, number 8 in France, number 10 in Luxembourg, number 11 in Denmark, number 13 in the US, number 18 in Mexico. In the first month, the album has around 1 million plays on the scrolling site Last.fm. Following that, the band announced that the new single would be Need. Later on, the band was awarded Best Other Media Music for its album The Unforgiving on the new Solanity Buma Music in Motion, that awards creative and innovative methods to make music. On June 10, 2011, the music video of Need was officially released to promote the same single, that had its physical release on July 15. The single was a little different from the others, including 3 remixes of the music made by 3 different DJs. Proceeding on promotion of the album, the band presented at the Sege Festival, but the Unforgiving tour officially started August 12, at the Huntin Pop Festival, where the band played the whole The Unforgiving album among other album's hits, in a special show as the first challenge. During August, the band performed at several summer festivals as Luna and Lowlands and started an indoor tour in September, first in North America and then across in Europe. On eerie September, the album reached gold status in Poland. Later that month, it was announced that Robert would step down touring with the band, except for occasional shows, as there was no one to look after Robert and Sharon's 3 children. Robert will focus on production and songwriting, while Stefan Hellblad is taking his place on stage. Ending the year, Within Temptation was the 91st most listened band worldwide in 2011 on the scrolling site Last.fm, with 90,000 new listeners, the 18th in Russia, 23rd in Poland, 41st in Finland, 56th in Germany, 79th in Brazil and 90th in Chile. In early 2012, to continue promoting the album, the band started a South American tour, passing over Brazil, Chile, Argentina, Peru and Ecuador. Right after coming back to Europe, the band presented a semi-acoustic Dutch theatre tour in March 2012, called Sanctuary, much like their previous live album, an acoustic night at the theatre in which they played many songs never played before like Say My Name, The Last Dance, Overcome, Bittersweet and some that they don't play often like Restless, Sounds of Freedom, The Swan Song and Our Farewell. Most of them were played an acoustic version. On the 8th of May, 2012, Sharon, Adel and Ro Jolie appeared on DWDD Recordings to perform an acoustic cover of Nirvana's song Smells Like Teen Spirit. The band embarked on a second leg of festivals, headlining several of the biggest European 2012 summer festivals, such as Sonosphere, Masters of Rock, Rock Werchter, Summer Breeze and Gods of Metal. Later, the band officially announced a very special show called Elements. The sold-out special show celebrated the band's 15-year anniversary at the Sport Palais, Belgium, and the band was accompanied by the Il Novecento Orchestra and other special guests, such as band's ex-members.
The Q Music Sessions 2013.
In the run-up to the 15th anniversary of Within Temptation, the band was asked by Q Music to choose and perform an existing track in a Within Temptation style once a week during 15 weeks during their special program Within Temptation Friday. The covers consist most part of pop songs in which the band transformed into a more symphonic-oriented form. Lead vocalist Sharon Adel stated that, "Our approach was to really make the cover a new Within Temptation song. So not going the easy way by using only a piano or an acoustic guitar for example, but really trying to put all the elements of a Within Temptation track in this new version. It was quite a challenge because we had only 1 week to get it right, while recording an original Within Temptation song can sometimes takes up half a year. But this pressure also gave us an creative boost and it was very rewarding to get it done in time each week. Also, we learned a lot from the in-depth analysis we needed to make on these hits, written by others, in combination with implementing our own sound and style in each new cover. We are glad that we've taken up this challenge and are very proud of the result." They covered artists such as Imagine Dragons, One Republic, Lana Del Rey, The Who among others.
Hydra 2013 present.
The writing process of the band's next studio album began in 2012, and at the first half of the year the band has 6 songs written already. The album was scheduled to be released worldwide in September, by their new label, BMG, and in the Netherlands by Universal Music. The band is also scheduled to perform at some summer festivals as Nova Rock, Gateway Rock Festival and Greenfield Festival. The band also released a cover album on the April 19, entitled The Q Music Sessions, in which presents 11 of the 15 covers made by the band for the Belgium radio station Q Music, all of them consisting of famous hits made by the band in a very Within Temptation style. On the same day, the band released the official music video of their cover of Titanium. On June 16, the band went on to record the first music video for the new album. During a series of statements about the recording progress of the album, Westerholt stated that the album would contain growls. At the middle of May, bassist Sharon Van Veen went to the studio to record the bass for the first 5 songs. On July 12, the band released a teaser trailer of the upcoming studio album, but without any names revealed. On the next month, the band announced the title of the lead single, in which is Paradise, What About Us? Also uploading a teaser trailer revealing some lyrics and a guitar solo in anticipation for the release. The band eventually got a North American signed deal with Nuclear Blast and, about the partnership, the company's president Monty Connor stated that there are very few bands out there today who continually deliver on such a high and consistent level as Within Temptation. That is why they have such an incredibly loyal worldwide fan base. I am thrilled they chose Nuclear Blast Entertainment as their US partner. Their fans are in for a real treat come later this year. The band also established a licensing deal with Dramatico for the United Kingdom release of the album. Once the drumming and vocal recording was complete, the final guitar recording started on August 26. On August 30, the band announced that the lead single Paradise, What About Us? Would be released as an EP, which is also set to feature 3 tracks from the upcoming album in their demo form, being them Let Us Burn, Silver Moonlight, and Dog Days. Upon making this announcement, Adel said, "By releasing these demos we want to invite you in our home studio and show how we capture song ideas at an early stage of creating a new album. These demo versions are far from their final sound on the album, but will give you a hint of what we are working on. It will be fascinating to hear how the end result will sound like, once the album is released." After announcing that the lead single would contain a guest musician, on September 13 the band officially announced that Sharon was set to appear as a special vocalist on the title song. The EP was released on September 27. On 25 and 26 October, Adel and Westerholt presented an unknown number of songs of the upcoming album to the press. The second promotional single, Dangerous, was released on December 20 and features ex-Killswitch Engage singer Howard Jones. Hydra was finally released on January 31, 2014, in mainland Europe and in February 4 on North America and United Kingdom, and was met with critical and commercial success.
Musical style.
The band's first album, Enter, was released in 1997, in which music critics defined the band as 2 heavy metal subgenres, gothic metal and doom metal, classifying the release as gloomy, doomy, slow-moving, atmospheric, symphonic gothic metal, and compared it with Tristania and Theatre of Tragedy, 2 other bands in the genre. The guitar riffs and keyboard work were also praised, as were the contrasting voices of the 2 lead vocalists, Sharon Adel and Robert Westerholt. The next record of the band, an EP entitled The Dance, released in 1998, was described as important in the development of the band, presenting the band's musical growth as they explore the parameters of orchestral, neo-classical metal. With the release of the second album, Mother Earth, their musical style came to a point of inflection, where only Adel remained as lead vocalist, leading the band to more melodic and Celtic songs and more folk influences. Critics approved the changes in the musical direction and stated that the album reveals new dimensions in the concept of metal. Having Daniel Gibson as its main producer, the album The Silent Force was classified as very melodic, catchy and relaxing, although some critics lamented the band's decision to take a more commercial direction, no longer comparing the band with old gothic metal fellows Tristania and Theatre of Tragedy, but instead with American rock band Evanescence, and criticizing the new electronic elements. With the release of The Heart of Everything, in 2007, the specialist critics were divided on the band's new direction. Some stated that the album was shallow and only commercial-driven, perfectly built for MTV. Others appreciated the new direction and found it more varied. About.com agreed with both opinions, stating that they have the optimum balance of the melody and hooks of mainstream rock, the depth and complexity of classical music, and the dark edge of gothic metal. AllMusic commented that the band isn't afraid to get downright symphonic. In 2011, the band released their fifth studio album, The Unforgiving, the biggest change in their musical direction. Although being largely well received by critics, some reviewers disliked the changes, with Q magazine calling the album the metal to pie. Besides that, some critics found the 1980s pop, rock and metal influences a good thing for the band. In order to celebrate the band's 15th anniversary, the Belgian radio station Q Music invited the band to make 15 covers of famous songs. Later, the band released the Q Music Sessions album, the most divergent genre variation from their original sound to date. The album features reworked covers of several famous pop songs, such as Titanium from David Guetta, Grenade from Bruno Mars, The Power of Love from Frankie Goes to Hollywood, and also some indie and folk rock songs as The Who's Behind Blue Eyes and Passengers Let Her Go. The name of the band's sixth studio album, Hydra, refers to this great variation in the band's main sound. As Westerholt said, Hydra is a perfect title for our new album, because like the monster itself, the record represents the many different sides of our music. American magazine Aquarian Weekly considered that title highly appropriated and compared it to the band's diverse musical history, alleging that they were able to find the right balance between all the musical changes.
Lineup:
Sharon Den Adel, lead vocals, 1996-present. Robert Westerholt, rhythm guitar. Grunts, 1996-present, studio only since 2011. Sharon Van Veen, bass, 1996-present. Rue Jolie, lead guitar, rhythm guitar, 2001-present. Martij Spierenberg, keyboards, 2001-present. Mike Coughlan, drums, 2011-present. Stefan Hellblad, rhythm guitar, lead guitar, 2011-present. Michiel Papenhove, lead guitar, 1996-2001. Martij Westerholt, keyboards, 1996-2001. Dennis Lee Flang, drums, 1996. Richard Illems, drums, 1996. Yvonne de Graaf, drums, 1996-1998, 1999-2001. Marius van Pyrene, drums, 1998. Ciro Palmer, drums, 1998-1999. Jel Bakker, lead guitar, 2001. Steven van Herst, drums, 2002-2010.
Discography:
Enter, 1997, Mother Earth, 2000, The Silent Force, 2004, The Heart of Everything, 2007, The Unforgiving, 2011, Hydra, 2014.
Awards and nominations.
References